Hello, everybody. Welcome to Shadoe at Night. This is Tuesday, August the 5th, 2025. On the show tonight, our guest is the chair and founder of the Dominion Society of Canada. His name is Daniel Tyrie, and he will join in just a second. Oh, by the way, Thursday night, this Thursday, John Carpay from the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, and quite possibly tomorrow night, the leader of the United Party of Canada, also a candidate in the Battle River Crowfoot by-election in a couple of weeks' time, going right head-to-head with Pierre Poilievre, Grant Abraham. But that's a maybe. That's a big maybe for tomorrow night. Definitely John Carpay on Thursday night, and definitely Daniel Tyrie from the Dominion Society of Canada in just a couple of minutes. I'm looking at his face right now. So what is the Dominion Society? That's what you're thinking right now, isn't it? You're going, what is that? Well, I talked about it last week. I played you the video that Daniel made and a couple of weeks ago. And it's quite an interesting organization. It's new. He only founded this about a month ago. And I'm sure he's excited to get his message out tonight. So don't forget to like and share, you guys. Get this out to as many people as you possibly can. Hello, Carla. I saw your Facebook post yesterday, and I'm very happy for you. Nobody wants a roommate. But if you're going to get a roommate, it's going to be a good one. Like hopefully your BFF forever, right? Debbie, how you doing in Kipling, Saskatchewan tonight? Michael is watching in Brampton. Hello, Iris in Calgary. Jeannie is watching in Calgary. Shelley is watching tonight. Hello, Barbara in Georgetown, Ontario. Barb is watching in southern Manitoba. Hello, Stephanie in Delta, BC. Ken is watching in Kamloops. Hello, Patricia in Grimsby, Ontario. Mireille is watching in Lacombe, Alberta. Wayne and Patty are watching from Norwich, Ontario. Daniel is watching in St. Malo, Manitoba tonight. Christine is in Enola. Hello, Regina, watching in Surprise, Arizona. Jen is watching. Sandra in Cudworth, Saskatchewan, where it's raining. Thank you for the weather report. John is watching in the RM of Dufferin, Manitoba. Giselle is watching Sunshine Coast tonight. Beautiful area of British Columbia. Then again, that province is beautiful from top to bottom. And BC Prairie Girl is watching on YouTube tonight. Carney ass. Well, I guess if I'm going to put that in the title of the show, I should probably throw it up on the screen there. Now, it's not Carney's ass. It's Carney ass. So this is Mark Carney walking through the Pride Parade in Vancouver this past weekend. And I guess some guy in a pink G-string ran up to him to give him a hug. And of course, but that's the situation you put yourself in when you attend these things. And people say, how dare you sexualize our movement, our LGBTQ 1A, 2SL, Q2 movement. I say, I don't sexualize it. You sexualize it. Look at yourself. Look at this. So tell me again how this is family friendly. When he kind of, his ass is how prime ministerial. Where Justin Trudeau leaves off, Mark Carney picks up. Here's the video that the Liberal Party put out on X yesterday. Watch. We gotta kill this switch. You're from the 70s, but I'm a 90s bitch. They use the word bitch in that song. Was that used in that song? And of course, it did not include this photo right here. Nowhere in that video did I see a still of this. This, I mean. By the way, Mark Carney also said today that he'll talk to Donald Trump when the time comes. Daniel Tyrie of the Dominion Society of Canada joins us in 30 seconds. Again, don't forget to like and share, you guys. We'll be right back. Myself to the stage. I'm here. It could just be the Daniel Tyrie show.
Yeah, I was like, no, I'm taking over.
How are you? Thanks for coming on tonight. Appreciate your time.
I'm great. Thanks for having me on, Shadoe.
Okay, so tell us, my friend, what exactly is the Dominion Society of Canada? I know it's a new organization, but I'm kind of excited about it, especially after the video you produced.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm excited about it too. We're a brand new organization. We call ourselves a Vanguard political movement. We're a registered not-for-profit organization, and our goal is to be a sort of advocacy group for heritage Canadians. So we see in this day and age that all different kind of foreign ethnic groups in Canada are organized and politically active, while real Canadians kind of remain atomized, and as a result, we are easy to ignore. So we want to put a stop to that. We believe in two core ideas: Canadian nationalism and remigration. Remigration is kind of the polar opposite of mass
Hang on. I want to ask that question a little bit later on. What is a Canadian? That's my question, because you've got that on the website. By the way, you guys, in case you haven't been, dominionsociety.ca. Here it is right here. It's very well put together. And there's two questions that you see right at the top. Daniel wanted to answer that one, the remigration question. We'll get to that. But what is a Canadian? A very good explanation is given on the website. But in this case, Daniel, I want you to go ahead and verbalize, if you will.
Yeah, you can tell I'm rip-raring to go. But these are the two central questions that kind of underpin our two main ideas. So Canadian nationalism and remigration. So when we talk about nationalism, we're not talking about some kind of vague civic nationalism, some patriotism. We're talking about nationalism in the real sense of the word. And that's to say that a nation is more than just a country, an economy, a random set of boundaries. A nation is, by a dictionary definition, it's a people with a shared heritage, language, and identity. So we at the Dominion Society, we're big on history. We understand who we are and where we came from. And we knew that Canada was not built by immigrants, as is so often said in this day and age, but it was built by brave settlers that came mostly from France, England, Ireland, and Scotland, that risked their lives to build a country from nothing. They came to a barren wasteland and built and braved the elements and built an incredible country from the ground up. I think it's a huge disrespect to these great men to just call them immigrants and kind of equate them with this kind of modern economic unit that comes here to take advantage of our wealth and opportunity, when really they risked everything to pass down a prosperous country to their descendants.
Daniel, how many times have you been called a racist? How many times have you been called a racist in the past month since the Dominion Society went online?
I have a thick skin. I'm not too worried about internet comments.
It's not that I'm calling you one. It's that you know who will start targeting you once you gain enough notoriety, enough public awareness. You know that those people, and you know who I'm talking about, are going to come after you, and they're going to come after you hard. They're going to call you a white nationalist, racist, extreme right-wing knuckle dragger, amongst other things. You've got a thick skin, but how are you going to be able to bring people along? Because, we've been conditioned. I'm not sure how old you are. You look like a young man to me, but, and this is a good thing. I love to see the youth getting active in this country. I think that's great. But we've been conditioned as Canadians since Trudeau Sr. in the early 1970s, this whole multicultural, this mosaic idea that Canada's a mosaic and we don't melting pot, we don't merge into each other's cultures, which creates a crazy quilt, really. It doesn't create any coherence. It doesn't create any balance. It doesn't create any unification going forward, right? Which is something I think that you want to bring to Canadians. But I mean, you're going to be attacked. How do you bring people along with you? Because most of these Canadians who have been conditioned will be pointing at you going, this young white man wearing a suit, oh my God, he's a racist.
We relish the attacks, Shadoe. To be honest, in the last few weeks, I think I've been called a Fed more than I've been called a racist. So we'll start. We have to start somewhere, but I'm sure that's coming soon enough once I start pissing off the right people.
A Fed? What do you mean a Fed? Like they think that you're working for the government?
Yeah, they think we're some sort of honeypot or something, which has been done in the past, to be fair. But no, we're not Feds. We're not racists. We're not scared of being called names, though. I think this label racist and all the other kind of pejoratives that they throw at us have gotten really kind of tired over the last kind of decade in particular. And people are waking up more and more to the realities of mass immigration. They see it in their daily lives. They're getting fed up with it. And really, they're waiting for someone to bring that message forward in a credible and professional manner. So we're going to bring that forward, that banner. We know that we're going to have some mud slung at us, but we're ready to take it because we stand for something much bigger than ourselves. Like I'm not too worried about tarnishing my personal reputation because I know that I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, and I want to leave something greater for my family, for my nation, and for our descendants. So if some people are going to call me names, like, so be it. We're standing up for our people. We're not scared of anything.
You know, it's interesting. I just had a conversation. I was just on with Ken Drysdale as a commissioner for the NCI on his show. And we were talking about Sean Feucht, and I'm sure you're familiar with the situation that he's in. He's the evangelist, let's say, the Christian evangelist, singer, songwriter, spreading the word of Jesus all across the country. And he's been canceled in 6 or 7 cities so far across the country, including Quebec City, Charlottetown. I think he was able to play in Toronto and in Montreal, but he had to move locations. And the reason that the city councils give for canceling his events is because of danger. They're scared that somebody's going to get hurt. Now, I don't see them canceling Palestinian protests. I don't see them canceling anything. There's one that's going across the country right now. Let's see here. It's a Muslim guy, and I think he's an imam, and he's going around preaching Muslim ideology and theology all across the country, and nobody's paying any attention to him. So my question is to you, because as you said, every minority in this country seems to have some kind of an activist group that is lobbying on their behalf. But then you said real Canadians don't seem to have that. You said real Canadians. What does that mean? Old stock, as Stephen Harper put it once?
Yeah, I think old stock's a good way to put it. I usually use heritage Canadians.
Right.
But these people that have lived here generationally, the people that are the descendants of the people that settled these lands. That's who I mean when I'm talking about heritage Canadians. Yes, there is an ethnic component to what a Canadian is. Now, Pierre Poilievre is going around the country saying anyone from anywhere can come here, and we have a nationalism that's not about bloodlines and all these things. But it's just not historically accurate. It's just pandering to try and win votes in certain regions around the big cities and stuff, seats that they know they need to win. But it's not historically accurate, and it doesn't resonate with people. So we're going to pump the brakes. We're going to point out, no, we know what a Canadian is. A Canadian's just not someone who hasn't moved here yet from India. Like, that's just not what a Canadian is to me. My family has generations in this country, and we're proud to stand up for our ancestors and for our descendants.
I love your explanation. And, I think that most Canadians feel it whenever they go out into any public situation, especially in the large cities, right? Like Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal. You don't even know. I mean, if you were waking up from a coma, let's say, and you were taking your first walk out onto Yonge Street in Toronto, you wouldn't realize what country you were in until you saw a street sign. And even then you'd go, what's going on? But it seems nobody wants to say it. Why is that, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, I think you touched on it earlier. People have been programmed against these kind of ideas for generations now. And it really did start. You might be able to argue that it started under Diefenbaker in the 60s, but it really took full throat under Lester Pearson and then subsequently Pierre Elliott Trudeau, who really, I think he saw nationalism as a problem in Canada. And we have to know that he was informed by kind of his situation of his time, which was Quebec separatism. And he was a federalist. And I agree with that vision. Federalism is important to me. I thoroughly believe in Sir John A. Macdonald's vision for a coast-to-coast dominion of Canada. But Pierre Trudeau saw this as volatile and as a solution to the tensions that nationalism was creating within the country. He kind of moves us to this post-national version of Canada, embraces multiculturalism, and starts diversifying what are our sources of immigration, while encouraging people to maintain their kind of cultural identities from foreign countries.
And then keep them all separate so they can never mix and mingle and get into fights with each other, right?
Yeah, and we'll pretend like this isn't awkward, and they'll gaslight us and call us racist if anyone raises any questions. And now this has been going on for 40, 50 years, my whole life. And so people just don't even recognize this conception of nationalism. Now, this was the standard throughout the entire world, especially leading up to the world wars. Nationalism was widely kind of vilified in the post-war period. But we want to bring this conception back. It's a normal way of thinking, and we know how backwards our country has become because of this kind of multi-ethnic, multicultural, post-national vision of the country. So we're gonna accept that maybe you call me the bad guy. I'm gonna stand up and I'm gonna say what everyone's thinking. Maybe some people will call me names, but a lot of people are gonna give a sigh of relief. They're going to be like, that guy's finally articulating what I've been concerned about for years, and we're going to start to do something about it.
Let me ask you, what do you need to do to get more people active? I mean, you're going to be an activist group. I appreciate that, and I applaud your efforts, but how are you going to manage to get people out? Because, there's some video that came out. I think it was in the UK. They wanted to take back Britain. I think that was the movement there. They came out, they were carrying signs, and many of those folks looked like, I think maybe the media made them look this way, but KKK members almost, right?
Sure, unsavory.
And that's what they were trying to, unsavory, racist, trying to depict them as villainous. So how do you propose to defend against that?
So this is why we built the Dominion Society. We want to put a professional face on this movement. I think it's nationalism. Previous iterations of nationalism has been vilified exactly how you're saying. They take some bad apples and they paint the entire movement that way. We're very careful about these things, and we know that aesthetics matter. I think you can tell by the way that I present myself, by the way we put together our video content, our website, and so on, that we're very conscientious about the role kind of image plays in growing our movement. And I think that's why we've been so attractive to people over the last 2 weeks. It has just been 2 weeks since we started.
Are you getting a lot of traffic on the website?
Yeah, we're getting a ton of traffic. We already have over 500 paid members in our organization, representing every single province and one territory across the country. And then we've also gained thousands of subscribers on 5 different social media platforms. We're going on 4,000 on Twitter. We're going on 3,000 on Instagram, and similar numbers. Our launch video got over 100,000 views on Twitter alone.
It's a good video, man. It's great.
Yeah. We know the important role that kind of aesthetics and professionalism play, and we want to scale that as we continue to grow. We're not like, people want us to give them poster designs to print out of their, home printers, and all these things, but we're taking things slow and measured. We want to make sure that we onboard the proper activists. We want to make sure that all of our print materials are done professionally. We don't want garbage black and white print paper stuck up on poles. We want to make sure we're following municipal bylaws, that everything we put out is to a very high standard, and all of our activists are able to represent our organization effectively, because we know that even a few small bad apples can really or one moment on a street corner with a cell phone,
one guy with a Confederate flag, right? Just one guy with a Confederate flag, and that's it for you. What kind of activism are you talking about here? Are you talking about knocking on doors, talking to people face to face? Is it mostly online, or a little bit of everything?
So right now we've been very online for the first 2 weeks as we kind of launch things and get people and kind of build a basic organization. As I said, we have over 500 paid members now. So our small kind of leadership team is working to reach out to all these people and kind of onboard them and find our highest potential kind of volunteers to start building out an organization from coast to coast. We do want to burst out from the online world into the real world as quickly as possible. We don't want to get caught in this kind of online rut, even though the online will continue to play a very important role in how we spread our message. Our first thing we want to do is a big postering campaign. I think it's a realistic target. We're going to start getting activists out in communities, putting up posters with our messages, putting out stickers, and then we're going to expand to knocking on doors and putting flyers in mailboxes, and just this typical grassroots stuff. We want to do other things like a big conference and more kind of larger scale activism.
Are you talking about like getting a chapter in every city?
Yeah. We're gonna see how things develop. We're gonna. I think one lesson that I learned working in politics is that politics is more than just ideas. It's about people. So we're trying to find where our best people are, and we're going to build an organization based off of who we have, rather than trying to force human resources into some sort of cookie cutter formulation of what we think an organization will look like. We're going to build around our best people depending on where they are.
What is remigration? You were going to get into it earlier. And, there's a lot of people saying, man, I don't know what country I'm in, like I was talking about earlier. Are you talking about sending people back? I mean, there's anywhere between 20,000 and 500,000 illegals in Canada right now. That's a pretty big gap. Wouldn't you say? They don't know how many there are. And they don't know where they are.
Yeah, I mean, remigration, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's the polar opposite of mass immigration. So over the last 10 years in particular, but I would say mass immigration has been going on for about 40. They've brought millions of people to this country. Remigration is the obvious kind of counterbalance, which is not to just close the doors, but reverse the flow. So we have a comprehensive remigration plan on our website. It's a 10-point 3-phase plan that breaks down the steps that we'll take. But it's not just a synonym for deportations. This is a common misconception. So deportations is the involuntary removal of illegal immigrants. And as you pointed out, that is one part of our remigration plan. There's somewhere between 20,000 and 500,000 illegals. Some experts guess even higher than that. And there's also 4.9 million temporary residents on expiring visas coming to a close before the end of the year. So we need to make sure that our government has the capacity to send these people back.
Well, Daniel, the government believes that these people will leave of their own free will, of their own volition.
It's a little bit naive, if you ask me, but we should just be able to make sure is all I'm saying. But remigration goes further than that. We offer several ideas, including a complete moratorium on incoming immigration for at least 10 years as the kind of situation stabilizes. We oppose things like the temporary foreign workers program. That's a really anti-worker policy that I think that needs to be completely abolished, and temporary foreign workers return to their countries. We want to restrict birthright citizenship. This is a kind of policy that's very liberal in Canada, some of the most liberal across the Western world. And as a result, like people here as a tourist or as an illegal, if they have a child in the country, that child automatically gets citizenship and then can be used to get the parents. This is called, an anchor baby. It's a term, birth tourism. We want to restrict this so that you have to have at least one Canadian-born parent to pass on citizenship. These kind of common sense ideas. But we also want to implement things like a voluntary repatriation program. So this would look like the government helping to facilitate permanent residents and naturalized citizens returning to their home countries in exchange for perhaps a financial incentive, but they would give up their citizenship as a part of the process. So we're not only looking to send back people that are here illegally, but we're also looking for measures to remove people that came in through the proper channels.
What about integrating? I'm sorry to interrupt you. What about the integration of some of these folks? And going back to what I was saying earlier, when you walk into a federal office or you're talking to a bank representative on the telephone or even a provincial office to get a new driver's license or a medical card or whatever, and the person behind the counter is obviously a new immigrant to our country who doesn't speak the language hardly as well as they need to, you almost feel sometimes as though like, all right, you got to say that again because I couldn't understand what you were saying, but you feel bad even asking them to repeat it because that's how we've been conditioned, right? You don't have to be rude about it, but what about forcing the language, because in my opinion, and this is something that we talked about a couple of weeks on the show, the number one key to any culture, to any country, is language. And, you know, I put out a short the other day. I saw these two guys working in a 7-Eleven, clowning around behind the counter, speaking Punjabi. And I thought that was so unprofessional and disrespectful to the heritage Canadians, as you say, in this country. I thought, you guys, if you want to speak your language, go home and do it. Do it in private. You're working in the Canadian public. You should be speaking one of the two Canadian languages. I don't care if you're talking to each other or to me, but you should be speaking our language. Is there a way to integrate, to make that law? They do it in Quebec. I mean, why can't we do it nationwide?
Yeah, absolutely. And we do propose adopting many of the measures that we've seen be successful in Quebec. Things like the ban on foreign language signage. I think this should be expanded to the entire country. Parts of this are just because Trudeau lowered the standards for language requirements to allow people to come. And they've continued to do this. I think it was announced a couple of weeks ago that Mark Carney was reducing language requirements for older immigrants that were coming.
Like, what do they think is going to happen? Like, what do they think is going to happen when they do that? I mean, the fabric of the country disintegrates.
It's common sense to you and me, Shadoe. I can't explain it. Like, these people have a very liberal outlook on life. They think that everyone can just coexist as long as everyone's kind of happy and polite. But the reality is, like, language is a very important basis for kind of social cohesion. If you can't communicate, and if you're, you know, intentionally not communicating, like, oh, we're going to speak Punjabi so this white guy doesn't know what we're talking about. Yep. It undermines kind of public trust in a way that it's hard to articulate. So part of what we would advocate for is a repeal of the Multiculturalism Act completely, a replacement with a sort of National Cohesion Act, enforcing tougher standards for language requirements, and so on. But part of it is just like you let in too many people with low standards.
Michael
some of them just need to go back.
Michael has just said here, driver's license exam should be English, French only, not 50 languages. How do we expect them to read road signs? I had no idea that driver's license testing was in 50 different languages, or maybe it's 30, but like that's insane. Yeah.
They're trying to be accepting. They're trying to be convenient for everyone. But what they're doing is kind of enabling bad behavior. They're encouraging people to, or not discouraging people from not assimilating. And it's creating an immense amount of tension in our society.
What kind of activism? I'm sorry, Daniel. What kind of activism are you guys going to be doing? Are you going to be lobbying politicians? Is that because, you know, the only way to actually get change is to put on the pressure. You put the pressure onto these guys, whether it's provincial or federal, and eventually they capitulate if you get enough people behind you, right?
Yeah, so we're kind of taking things from a bottom-up approach as well as a top-down approach. So we want to increase our numbers. That gives us power, because at the end of the day, politicians want to be able to get easy votes. And if I have 1 million plus people on my side, then they're going to take what I say very, very seriously. So we want to build out a large organization with a broad base of supporters. As well, we do have, as I mentioned, our kind of cohesive, coherent remigration plan. We want to build this out into a series of kind of more professional white papers. Right now, they're just kind of summaries on our website. But we're going to flesh them out into more professional white papers so that we can provide them directly to politicians, parties, governments. So as our ideas get more popular, and they're already very popular, like according to opinion polls, the large majority want less to no immigration, and almost a majority are calling for things like mass deportations. So there is a lot of public support for our ideas. We want to ID those voters and make them more politically active. And as the politicians realize that this is the only way forward, we'll be there ready with our ideas, with our white papers, saying, here you go. Maybe they won't take all of our ideas. Maybe they'll pick and choose, but we'll give them those starting points. So we have a top-down approach and a bottom-up approach.
If there's 70%, and I've seen the same polls as you, if there's 70% of people who believe there's too much immigration and they want it shut down, why were they voting for this guy? I mean, Poilievre was talking about it during the election campaign, but I've become more aware that it's pretty much a uniparty in this country. And I thought the conservatives would give us a slower road to hell, and maybe I was right, maybe I wasn't. Maybe it's good that we're on this fast road to hell so more people wake up quicker. But how is it that the people of this country still voted Liberal, even with all of this stuff going on?
So, for one, Pierre could have made mass immigration a key issue in this election. He failed to do so. He wasted 2 years making his whole campaign about the carbon tax and Justin Trudeau, and that blew up in his face when both of them were removed at the start of the year. This left him in a difficult position. They talked a little bit about immigration during the election, but it was mostly around opposing the Century Initiative. It was talking about this scary dystopian world where by 2100 there'd be 100 million people, instead of grappling with the issues today. If he had embraced it and talked about the complications caused by mass immigration in this day and age, I think they could have been a lot more successful. But to talk about why Mark Carney won, I think it goes back to those questions about Canadian identity. And an important part about Canadian identity that we didn't cover at the start is this kind of strain of anti-Americanism. Canada as a people, Canada as a country was founded in rejection to America. Like a large component of our English-speaking kind of founding stock were literally loyalists who were living in the U.S., who fought against the Americans in the Revolutionary War on the side of the British. And then as such, were kind of pariahs from society and came up north to help start Canada. Canadians like very instinctually have these anti-American instincts. Now, in more recent years, especially in the post-war period, we've become very integrated with the Americans culturally and economically. But there's still this lasting instinct within us that just recoils at the idea of becoming America. So when Trump made this the central election issue, and the Liberals were more quick to kind of jump on it and make it their central response, they spoke to something deep within the soul of the average Canadian that the Conservatives just weren't attuned to.
Do you think this country has a future? And the reason I ask you that, it's, Quebec has been wanting out for 50 or 60 years. Alberta looks like they're getting closer and closer to their own sovereignty. And if they go, then Saskatchewan is next. So what is left for this country? How do we get it back?
I'm very optimistic by nature. I think that we can take this country back. It's going to take hard work, but there is something that's here that's worth fighting for. And a lot of young people in particular are looking for something bigger than them to give purpose in their life. It comes from this kind of secularism that's taken over our society. There's an emptiness that needs to be filled, and I think that can be filled by nationalism and this greater kind of mobilizing myth of remigration. We have something that we're fighting for, and I think that having that empowers people to do great things. So there is a lot of challenges on the horizon, but there are people that have gone through more difficult things. Look at what happened in Spain when the country was conquered by the Muslims. They were wiped out to small minorities in corners of cities before they took back their country and rebuilt it. So I believe in the kind of indomitable Canadian spirit. I think the people of this land are some of the most creative and powerful, forged in hostile territory. The very lands that we grew out of are perilous, and we were a uniting of some of the greatest European nations into one. So I do think we have a great kind of foundation to build off of. It's just about accepting the problems and the solutions, and then working together to achieve them.
Daniel, there's a lot of older guys like me. I'm 60, and we've got a lot of people who watch this show between the ages of 45 and dead. And we don't have a lot of younger people. And I've got two theories behind that. First of all, is the host of the show is 60 years old, and maybe they don't identify with a guy who's that old. But secondly, maybe the young people these days just aren't into it. They're just not into it. And that's what a lot of people of my generation, the generation one below me and the generation one above, they kind of worry about today's youth. Now, seeing you come on the screen, looking the way you do and sounding like the way you do, that gives us some hope for the future. But your generation, can you explain your generation a bit to us so maybe we can understand it a bit more? Because we see a lot of blue hairs, a lot of neck tats, a lot of safety pins through the cheek, a lot of screaming, yelling, crying, carrying on. And is that what they're pumping out in universities these days, or is that where they're picking it up mostly?
I don't know. There's definitely been a lot of cultural decay, and that can be chalked up to a lot of things. I would say that we've been gaining a lot of support from a younger crowd, and there is an appetite for our kind of message and identity amongst young people and old. The age profile of our members is pretty even, I would say. But there are radicals on both sides, right? All these people that are kind of sucked into this blue-haired, face-piercing, tattooed kind of degeneracy. There is an equal group that's more quietly rising on the other side, and I hope I can be, a representative of that kind of counterculture that's looking to kind of reassert ourselves.
Isn't that ironic that the young guy with the short haircut and the suit on is a counterculture guy? That's funny. Because the counterculture used to be the hippies, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But the powers that be have kind of weaponized the hippie culture of not giving a fuck, and they promote that, and then they do whatever they want to their own benefits. So really, it is the counterculture to stand up to all the elite structures that are promoting these degenerate ideas, that are promoting mass immigration for their own corporate benefit, right? Like they promote mass immigration to keep us separated and to drive down wage costs, and it's all for the elite benefit. It's not that no one benefits from mass immigration, right? We have to dispel that reality. Certain groups do benefit from mass immigration. It's just the average Canadian does not. So it's time for us to unite and push back. And I do think it is kind of backwards. I don't look like a punk rocker in any sense of the word, but we're definitely taking back. We're definitely the kind of reactionaries that are pushing back, and that's. I think it's cool. I think it's fun. And I think that's why people are going to be excited to get involved.
Where does God and Jesus fit into the movement?
Christianity plays an important role in Canadian identity. The country would never have been able to grow to what it was without a strong kind of Christian moral ethic, as well as the kind of community structures that come with it. We're not an open, explicitly Christian organization. Where we're broadly secular, but we are kind of proud of Canada's Christian heritage and recognize the important role that it's played.
Yeah, it's important because when you don't have something to have faith in, something to believe in, then somebody will come along with something else, right? Like all of these left-wing lunatics these days and the trans nonsense. I mean, that stuff. How do we stamp that out? Is that like a social contagion, do you think, or is it something more?
I think social contagion is a good way of describing it. We try and stay focused on our main issues.
No, I get that. But it's all part and parcel of the same thing ultimately, right?
Absolutely. There's tentacles connecting it all. I think standing up for biological realities is important.
Just makes sense.
And yeah, no, I definitely have a background in that space as well. But it's all tied together with this kind of general kind of moral degeneracy. And again, they want us focused on things outside of, standing up for our people. And I think this kind of trans fad is another kind of distraction, but it's definitely a social bug that's going through the education system, and it's all tied back to liberalism, right? It's just the same way that they want to allow anyone to speak any language that and think that's going to have no social consequences. They want to accept everyone for their sexual orientation or their gender identity and all these things. And again, they're not thinking that it's going to have any social consequences. So really the root of all these kind of problems is just kind of the liberal moral framework that's been implemented in the post-war period.
Or lack thereof. No, there is no moral framework apparently.
I mean, that's liberalism at its rawest form, I would say. So
well, neoliberalism, I mean, the actual liberal mind is one that's open to all things, right? It's not closed off. So it's more of a Marxist, neo-Marxism than a neoliberalism, I would suggest. Anyway, but that's semantics. How can people join up with you? Just go to dominionsociety.ca and look for the sign-up sheet? And how do people actually become chapter leaders, too? I'm sure that's a pretty exciting thing for many.
Yep, right in the top bar there's a join. You can go to dominionsociety.ca/join. That'll bring you to our membership sign-up page. We ask for some personal info, your address. There's a little bit of a questionnaire so we can get to know where you're coming from. And then as I mentioned earlier, our small team is working on onboarding our members from across the country. Over the next few weeks, we have a lot of phone calls to make. We want to touch base and thank every single member and get a sense of who they are and what they can bring to the organization. Some people are just going to sit on the sidelines and help that way and share our stuff on social media and so on. But a lot of people are looking to get actively involved in their communities. So we'll be looking to build off of those people to create a kind of growing and sustainable organization that can be active in as many communities as possible across the country.
Daniel, I want to thank you for your time coming on tonight. I wish you the best, and I would love to have you back at some point soon so you can give us an update and see how you guys are doing.
Yeah, I'd love to, Shadoe. It was a great conversation. Thanks for having me on.
All right, there's Daniel Tyrie. He is the founder and chair of the Dominion Society of Canada. I have more for you guys. We'll be right back in 30. We do have some news to cover tonight, but first, I'm not sure if everybody has seen this shot, but if you haven't, let me put it up on the screen again. Where is he? Mark Carney. Yeah, all right. So this is the Pride Parade in Vancouver over the weekend. Now, I don't know how Carney got himself into this predicament, aside from the fact that maybe he was walking the parade, waving at people, on each side of the street, and this guy just appeared out of nowhere. But as you can see behind him are his personal protection. You would think that they would have stopped a nearly naked man wearing a pink G-string, and I don't know what's going on in the front there, to be honest. They would have stopped this guy from getting anywhere near the Prime Minister, but they didn't. And this is the result. That picture right there. And somehow the Liberals actually think that this is a good thing for their brand, and they made a video celebrating it too. Everybody welcome, except if you're white, especially if you're male, and you believe in God and Jesus, like Sean Feucht, for example. Billboard Chris was out in the streets this past weekend also. We all know Billboard Chris. And he talks to anybody who wants to talk to him. Sometimes they're nice. He says 99% of the time they agree with his stance. Puberty blockers are harmful. Cross-gender hormones are very harmful, and gender-affirming care, aka mutilation, is incredibly harmful. But here he is having a conversation, some semblance of a conversation with somebody who opposes his and our views.
Puberty blockers are completely reversible. Right?
How are they reversible?
They suppress it temporarily, and then if you go off them, it doesn't affect anything.
Yeah, sure. If a kid went on puberty blockers for, let's say, 3 months and came off, puberty would resume and there wouldn't be too much harm done. But in practice, what happens when these kids go to gender clinics, and we know this from gender clinic statistics themselves, it's pretty much 100% of these kids stay on them. They progress to the cross-sex hormones. They're being sterilized. They're being harmed for life. And if we just left them alone, they would grow out of this. We know this from all the academic studies that were done before they started drugging kids.
One, it's not drugging kids, but two...
What are they? These are drugs. These are chemical castration drugs. It's a prostate cancer drug. It's a drug for endometriosis, for uterine fibroids. It's a drug that's never been approved for these purposes. These are actually gonadotropin-releasing hormone analogs, if you want to get into the specifics of it. And it stops the pituitary gland from releasing a couple hormones, which in turn trigger testosterone in boys or estrogen in girls. So without that, they don't go through puberty. We're experimenting on children, harming them for life. And you think this is okay?
You think that just everybody grows out of it?
So if you look at all the academic studies into gender dysphoria, do you want me to answer your question or not?
Can I just say
okay.
that, you know, not everybody is fully certain that they want to go through a full transition, and that journey is different for everybody. And so a lot of times puberty blockers gives them that little bit of extra time to figure themselves out, and then later, if they decide to continue, then they can go on and be happier. Like, not everybody grows out of, you know, that gender dysphoria, that need to be themselves. And so by saying that it is applicable for everybody, in that you know, it's harmful to everybody, that's not true.
Well, of course it's harmful to everyone.
No,
Stopping
it's
the development
not.
of a child is harmful.
No,
sterilizing children is harmful.
Okay, all right.
Raping children is harmful too, and we don't seem to have an issue.
This is the level of intelligence. Didn't want to hear the answer.
Yeah. I suppose it could be worse. Look what happened a couple of weeks ago in the Netherlands. This is the puppy walk in Antwerp, where people who believe they're dogs, I would imagine, or maybe they're just cosplaying, I don't know. But they get on their full gear and they go and act like dogs in the street for a couple of hours. Now, I have heard, and I'm not sure if you've seen this in your neighborhood, but I've heard that in my home base of Winnipeg, that there are some schools that do have litter boxes in the hallways. I'm not kidding. We're talking about high schools here. I've heard that there are litter boxes that are in the hallways for kids who identify as felines to do their business. True story. Now, my question is, instead of affirming this complete delusional nonsense, this mental instability, mental illness, why don't we actually help these kids by giving them some kind of treatment, dose of reality? I know that there's many people out there that might say something like, just they need a good smack. But I think maybe this psychosis goes deeper than that. And that COVID had a lot to do with it. The lockdowns had a lot to do with it. Maybe the shots have a lot to do with it. I don't know. But in the past 5 years, whoa, things have taken a turn, have they not? You guys know who Alex Stein is? He's got a show on The Blaze. That's Glenn Beck's thing. He's a comedian. He's a right-wing comedian, according to the left-wing corporate media. And he was in front of Texas Congress the other day, the state Congress, not taking things very seriously. Watch this.
Introduce yourself. Go ahead. My name's Alex Stein. I'm considered one of the sexiest men in conservative politics. And one thing I want to say, a lot of people are going to hear my testimony and you're going to say you're anti-LGBTQ. I want to say that's impossible because I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. So obviously I have a lot of gay pride. But, you know, a lot of conservatives like yourself, you want to outlaw transgenders in women's sports. I disagree. I like transgenders in women's sports because you can gamble on them and win money. You know, I won so much money on Leah Thomas's propeller in that pool. I almost turned draft kings into draft queens. And, you know, I actually like transgenders in the military, too, because, first of all, transgenders are some of the meanest people on planet Earth, so they'd make a good soldier, don't you think? And then, you know, second of all, transgenders love to do mass shootings. So, you know, that's perfect for a military veteran. And then on top of that, the suicide rate is incredibly high among transgender people. So we could just use them like the Taliban has suicide bombers. Maybe you guys can actually, you know, if you commit suicide, actually help us in the battlefield. So that would be good. So I think we need transgenders in the military and women's sports. Now, when we come to the bathroom bill, though, this is an asymmetrical problem. Because, first of all, no dude cares if, like, a bisexual woman comes in there and tries to use, like, a pee funnel. You know, if some lady boy comes in there, some, you know, stud comes in there, wants to pee in the urinal. No guy's going to be threatened by, you know, a trans woman. But we don't want these gargoyles in a dress, you know, some chick with a dick coming in there and trying to pee or poop next to my girlfriend, because that's disgusting. And, well, I was going to say something. Listen, I have my First Amendment right. Let me just speak. So, we're sick of these transgenders trying to invade women's personal spaces. These people have autogynephilia, they're sexual perverts, and they actually get satisfaction from going there and looking under a stall. So these are mentally ill people that are on hormones, that are on all kinds of pills, they're impulsive, and they do not belong in a women's restroom. So if some of you lesbians want to come in and pee next to me, you're more than welcome. So we just don't let the chicks with dicks in the women's room, and you guys are all welcome in the men's room. I think that works.
Thank you very much.
Look, he's making a compromise. You know, it's funny. I am not at all threatened by a woman that I'm not threatened by any of this. I mean, that whole phobia thing, that's a complete misnomer because nobody is scared of them. We're not scared of any of you. We think that and we actually do feel sympathy for the state you're in. We do. To be fair. We're not scared of you, though. So you're going to have to drop this whole phobe thing. Like, seriously. It's not working anymore. It's not scaring anybody. It's not. A video from a guy called, I think it's Rigo Star. He's a spokesperson off and on for Gays Against Groomers. Let me see if I can find this thing here. We can get to this video because I think you guys might like this here. Rigo Star? Yeah, here it is here. Refuse to live in delusion. This guy's got a few thousand followers on Instagram, so he does have a following.
Might not like the truth, but I'll never tell a lie. The word transphobia is a made-up slur that gets thrown around like candy. But it's not about fear, it's about control. The alphabet mafia came up with this term to shut people up and to smear anybody who doesn't comply with their radical gender ideology. Because the moment they call you transphobic, they don't have to listen to you, they don't have to debate you, and they don't have to consider whether what you're saying or not is true. Most people aren't hateful, and they definitely aren't fearful of men in dresses. They're just not blind. They can see that biological men competing against women is unfair. They can see that sterilizing confused children is wrong. These people are not anti-trans. They're pro-woman, pro-truth, and pro-children. I also find it extremely convenient that the word transphobia is used to deflect from the real issue. Accountability. It's not hate to say no. It's not fear to say enough. And it's not a phobia to set boundaries. People aren't scared of men pretending to be women. They're just tired. Tired of being lied to, tired of being silenced, and tired of being told that protecting women and children is somehow hateful. Protecting the truth does not make you hateful. It makes you sane. Call it what it is. Not phobia, not hate. Just people refusing to live in delusion.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, you guys. You're just kind of tired of it. It's over. Your 15 minutes are up. Somebody from behind the curtain, that big, long, white cane, Ah! Yank him off the stage. Turn off the lights. Apparently, Mario's having a problem. Our friend Mario for the North, at least on his TikTok channel. They're trying to shut him down. And the lefties, the Marxists, apparently have some connections. Watch this.
Don't fear me. Give me just a minute, I'm going to blow your mind. The lengths to which the left goes to. You guys all know this guy Frank, right? Toronto-Sun did this whole article on him. What Frank is going to find out through this video is that I have access to his private WhatsApp chat. And this is where it gets crazy. Apparently Northern Perspective has proof that the Longest Ballot Initiative is doing illegal stuff. Rolls his eyes. Sure, his buddy Shay says they just mad it's finally happening to their PP. Hang on. Christy says, the Mario video. For those who follow me, do you remember this video that I posted on July 24th? Where I said I just got an inside scoop from Northern Perspective that laws may be being broken? This video, across all my channels, got over 1 million views. So it got on the radar. Frank says, yep, I already told TikTok Safety that I'll be bringing it to their attention tomorrow. He has a direct contact in TikTok where he's flagging my content to keep me quiet and to try getting my account banned. When it's posted, we shouldn't let this SHIT slide. You guys all saw the video, and it was done by Northern Perspective in extreme detail. They show things like them collecting signatures in mass without putting any candidate name in there. That's fraud. It's forgery. It's illegal. So my questions are, what SHIT shouldn't he be letting slide? You want to see something crazy? That same video that I just showed you, it got flagged by TikTok, just like he said he would do. They appealed this video because their violation reason was civic and election integrity. I talked nothing about that. Everything I gave was just, hey, this is coming up, this is the update. Obviously I appealed it because it didn't break any sort of guidelines whatsoever. It's been in a permanent review process. Normally, when I appeal things, they get back to me in about 1 day. It's almost been a few weeks. Frank has someone on the inside at TikTok. And this is how I keep getting account strikes, where I'm almost banned every single time consistently. I made a video talking about how I had been sick. Well, that was a strike as well. I literally made a video talking about things that were being done that are breaking election laws, where there was fake accounts on Facebook running ads against Pierre Poilievre. I appealed it, not approved, got a strike. I made a video talking about the wildfires in Alberta, but they were caused by humans and not by climate change. AFP, they tried to fact check me. This is factually true. I submitted that information. It's been in a permanent review process for the last 2 months. And let me remind you who Frank is.
I teach about trans rights. I teach about LGBTQ history. I teach about Black history.
And before that, he called all the parents snowflakes. And he said, I'm your worst nightmare. That video has since been deleted, but it'll always live on. Does this sound like freedom of speech to you? Where you have someone on the far left trying to silence someone that is telling you the truth. Someone that is giving you facts. And they have someone on the inside at TikTok taking down my videos that don't align with their perspective or hurts the left. This should terrify everybody. And this message is specifically for Frank. I was going to surprise you at the barbecue you were at today, but you pulled a reverse Uno card when I got this. And news for you, this isn't China, it's Canada.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure how much longer that's going to be unless we all stand up. Unless we all stand up and say no. I've got another video for you guys. Here's this guy is called the Zennial Farmer. Now, how many times have you heard people calling for things like boycotts? And it never happens. At least not in Canada. But what if it did? What if, well, let me let him explain to you.
Think about whether or not it's possible, but just think about what it would be like if we actually did it, if we shut it all down. Just imagine the power that everyone would feel if we got even 20% of us to participate for like a week. If we just planned ahead and stayed home, no one went to work, didn't drive anywhere, didn't buy a single thing. Just imagine how that many of us coming together to make the system just stop. Imagine how that would feel and the ripple effect that it would cause. That is the real power. I don't want to hear that people won't come together and that it'll never happen and all this bullshit. Like, that's just defeatist talk, because the truth is that we can do it anytime we want. And it just really has to get bad enough for people to be willing to take that step. Enough of us have to feel the pain, which in my opinion is why it's kind of a good thing that they're moving so fast, because it's going to make it so that more people feel the pain quicker and want to resist. Many times authoritarians, they take years to do what they're doing and just right now in just weeks. And it becomes easier for them to normalize it, and it's less apparent what's happening. Now, I know that they keep all of us living paycheck to paycheck to keep us feeling powerless, that we can't do this. And we're definitely going to have to come together and support each other in order to make something like this work. We have to have each other's back and trust each other and, be united. Because trust and solidarity amongst the citizens is the answer to authoritarianism. And dictators can't survive in a climate like that. They need fear and mistrust and apathy in order to maintain power. Now, think about how much it would really take for you to just be able to figure out how to just stay home for a week. And then think about what it would be like to make the largest economy in the world stop just like that. We could do it. All we have to do is decide to. So if you're down, drop a comment. If you're on board, this is what it's going to come down to. It's our most powerful weapon against this shit, and we can't afford not to use it. General strike is the way, y'all. It's our biggest leverage, and we're going to have to use it if we want any hope of ending this shit.
Yeah, he's talking for America, of course. What do you think? Is it a possibility? Could we do it? Could you not do anything that would cost you money for a week? Like no gas, no food, no nothing. Nothing. And could we get enough people to do it so as to put pressure on the entire system? We would need 20%, let's just say 20% of the people. That's a lot to ask, man. 20% of the people in this country is about 8 million. Get all the independent media together and push the same message. Get everybody together to do it. But then we're on the buddy system. There's no policing, right? It's not like we're going to go door to door. Hey, you doing it? Honor system. You got to do it. And let's be honest, the way our bank accounts are these days, I mean, come on. Probably going to be easy not to spend money for a week, right? But here we are in the middle of summer vacation season. You've probably had that cottage booked for a few months now. Can't just say no to it. You're going to have to stock it up. You're going to have to buy gas to get there. Tough to do. Something you got to plan for the future. I think the best months to do something like that would be January, February. Right? Like January, what's going on in January? Once you pass New Year's, you're good. You'll want to settle down, stop eating. And you might want to have to pay for a gym membership. I don't know. All right, couple more things here that we've got to look at. Sean Feucht getting canceled everywhere in this country. We don't know where he's playing in Manitoba yet on August the 20th. We do have a place for him. We have been in touch with Sean's team and said, we've got a place for you. All you got to do is take it. Well, we've got to look at all the options. There's many people reaching out, his team says, and I could appreciate that. Seems like they want to be in the city. The place that we have, not in the city. Not in the city. It's close enough, but it's not in the city. So, Sean, if you're watching right now, we do have a place for you, and we're going to need to hear from you in a reasonable amount of time before your actual performance day, which is, again, August 20th. He's getting canceled everywhere, but this guy, Ustadh Abu Taymiyyah, the awakening of the Ummah and the end of times, was last night in Winnipeg. Did you hear about this at all? Manitoba Islamic Association, the Grand Mosque, Powerful and timely tour dedicated to reigniting the spiritual and intellectual awakening of the Muslim Ummah in the age of confusion, division, and distraction. Well, maybe this guy is given the right message. Maybe there are Muslims who think like we do. And yes, he should be unharassed. You see, this is the difference between us and them. It's not like we, any of us, even if we were members of an activist group, like the Dominion Society, let's just say, it's not like any of us would ever call police and threaten violence if we don't get our way. We believe in hearing from everybody. We believe in listening to everybody's opinions and giving everybody a chance to speak. We believe in the marketplace of ideas. We believe in healthy, strong, respectful debate. And that's the problem. Don't you think? All right, we got a couple more things before we get to the extension tonight. Dr. David Martin did an interview about a month and a half ago, and he says he's got, and I've been trying to get him on for 2 years now, and he does get back occasionally. He's a busy guy, but I will get Dr. David Martin on this show. The more followers we have, if you're following, if you're not, you know what? I know that 30% of you watching this show right now are not following. You have not hit the like button. You don't have to subscribe to the website. I'd like it if you did. You don't have to. Just hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Hit the like button on Facebook or whatever button it is on X. Make sure you follow, because the bigger the audience we have, the bigger names we're going to attract to the show. The more people, interesting, cool people from around the world, you will get a chance to see here on the Shadoe at Night live stream. All right, this from Juno. Poilievre slams Carney as U.S. secures $750 billion LNG deal. This is something Pierre Poilievre was talking about for the last couple of years, as a matter of fact, and he did talk a lot about during the election campaign. Pierre Poilievre accusing Carney of hypocrisy and sabotaging Canada's oil industry after the European Union signed a $750 billion energy trade pact. Lauren Gunter of Sun Media says Trudeau cost Canada a chance to get into global LNG. Trump and the U.S. are reaping the benefit. What did Trudeau say? Do you guys recall? Do you remember his exact quote? His exact quote was, "There's no business case for it." And Germany and Japan came begging. There's no business case for it. So this article came out a few days ago. Last Sunday would be last Sunday. Donald Trump's golf resort in Scotland. Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the EU, pledged European countries would buy $750 over 1 trillion Canadian of U.S. energy, largely LNG, over the next 3 years in return for Trump promising to impose only 15% tariffs on the union's member states. Boy, those American-European trade negotiators must be dunces. Don't they know that 3 years ago, then German Chancellor Olaf Scholz made a special trip to Canada to ask our government to sell tens of billions of dollars in LNG to his country? Our economic genius of a prime minister, Justin Trudeau, rejected Scholz's request because there's no business case for selling LNG to Europe. The Germans almost immediately turned around and signed a 15-year agreement with Qatar for about $1.5 billion a year in LNG from that Gulf state. This past Thursday, the South Koreans made a similar deal with the U.S., about $100 billion in energy over 4 years, primarily LNG. What's wrong with these countries? Can they not see that the greatest economic mind of the 21st century, Justin Trudeau, has decreed it was foolhardy to sign such an agreement? The U.S. deals with the EU and Korea just for LNG are worth about 800 billion Canadian over the next 4 years. The rest of the sales are for oil and nuclear fuels. A good part of that market might have been Canada's had we not been ruled by a green dream weaver and eco-cultist who prevented this country from jumping into the world LNG market early in the game. And now the Americans have sucked up a lot of the oxygen in the room, and it's going to be hard for Canada to get a foothold, even if Mark Carney gets off his duff and agrees to more pipelines and LNG ports. I don't need to carry on with this article. You guys know where it's going. Carney, instead of negotiating with Trump and actually building things, would rather hug a naked gay man in the streets of Vancouver, then get a picture that's going to be circulated globally, making us once again a laughing stock. From City News Halifax, stay out of the woods. Nova Scotia bans forest activities amid dry spells. So, we've experienced droughts and dry spells before. Have you guys ever been banned from going into the woods? Yeah, no fires, I get it. But have you ever been banned from going to take a hike in the bush? Well, in Nova Scotia, if you do it, I guess you're going to get a ticket. The Nova Scotia government introduced restrictions on activities in forests amid tinder dry conditions. It's for your safety, though. Don't you understand? Premier Tim Houston said travel and recreational activities in the woods will not be allowed after 4 p.m. today. So it's in effect now. We're restricting travel and activities that really aren't necessary for most of us. Well, most of us don't care. That's how he's going to paint it. And it's for your safety. Hiking, camping, fishing, and the use of vehicles in the woods are not permitted. Trail systems through the woods are off limits. This, my friends, is a climate lockdown. Kinda. It's how they're bringing it out. It's how they're doing it. It's what they're doing. We told you this was going to happen. You've probably been telling people this was going to happen. And people will actually turn to you with this one and they'll say, well, it's for your safety. What you do is you turn back to them and you say, how is it for my safety if I want to take my kids for a hike in the forest? I'm not planning on starting any fires. I know it's dry. I'm not a moron. Well, it's still for your safety. Think about the kids. I am thinking about the kids. I want to get them out in the bush. I want them to learn what it's like to be out in the forest. They don't get enough of that these days. But now I can't because the government says, wow, the world has gone truly mad. But this is that slow normalization, right? And it's happening at different rates in different places. So Nova Scotia now says, hey, no, it's too dry for you to go into the bush. So Manitoba, Saskatchewan, they might go, hey, that's a great idea, Tim Houston. I think we're going to do that the next time we have a drought. Few days with no rain. Yeah, we got to show them who's boss. We got to let them know that we're still in charge and we're the ones to keep them safe, the children. All right, that's it for the show tonight, you guys. We do have some U.S. news to get to in the extension, and we're going to do that Dr. David Martin interview. The next pandemic, he's found out what it is through his research, and we're going to find out in the extension tonight for members, the all-access Nighthawks on shadowdavis.com. For the rest of you, I'll catch you tomorrow night, possibly with Grant Abraham, leader of the United Party of Canada. That's a possibility. And definitely John Carpay of the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms on Thursday night. I love you all. I appreciate you all. And I will see you again tomorrow night. All access. I'll see you in 2 minutes.